Are the West Virginia Mountaineers making a huge mistake with their future football scheduling? Could they actually be hurting their chances of making it into the college football playoff? That's what we're talking about in this episode of Couz's Corner. So stick around and we'll have that conversation. I'll give you my thoughts and explain what I'm talking about right after this.
Since 1931, the attorneys at Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner have been the voice for victims who have suffered serious injury or death. They have a fierce passion for truth and justice and a sincere compassion for those who have been wronged by others. Whether you have been in a car accident, are fighting with an insurance company, or you or a loved one has suffered serious injury or death due to medical negligence, we will ensure your voice is heard loud and clear. Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner will ensure there is justice for all West Virginians because we are your lawyer, your voice. Visit us at yourlawyeryourvoice.com.
What is up, and welcome into this episode of Couz's Corner, where we pour out top shelf college sports content around the West Virginia Mountaineers. Today we're talking about the football schedule. I did a clip the other day as part of the Golden Blue Breakdown show. I'll leave a link to it at the end, where Jonathan and I talked about the future football scheduling changes or additions West Virginia made. They added some FCS and group of 6 games to their schedule to fill out their schedule. I think it was through years 2030 or 20, maybe even 2032, somewhere along those lines. They got their schedules filled out for those years, and it was all FCS and G6 opponents. Now, in most, if not all of those years, they already have Power 4 teams on the schedule. And it's part of a strategy that Ren Baker and even back to Neil Brown, they talked about getting fixed. They wanted to, Neil Brown did kind of get the short end of the stick when it came to scheduling, having to play 2 Power 4 teams in the non-conference every single year. They were one of the only Power 4 teams doing that, most, if not all, those years. So their plan was going forward, they only wanted to play 1 Power 4 team in the non-conference. And I understand why. You should be assuring yourself 1 extra win, helps you get bowl eligible. You get your team beat up less because hopefully your starters don't have to play as many snaps. Obviously, less rigor around the opponent, in the middle of the game. Less risk for injury. And hopefully that extra win also helps you gives you a little bit better chance to make the college football playoff as an at-large should you not win the league. So I get all, and even financially, kind of there's a piece of it as well because you get an extra home game. But when it comes to the college football playoff argument, I'm not sure it'll be the best move long term. It could actually be hurting them. And now winning the Big 12 may be the only way you get in. Heck, that might be the case anyway, especially if they go to this 5+11 model where you have 5 automatic qualifiers and 11 at-large bids. It might be hard for more than 1 Big 12 team to get in anyway. But if they do what Greg Sankey and company are trying to do, West Virginia may actually be doing the opposite of what they should be doing. They might need to double down on strength of schedule and try to play that 11th Power 4 opponent every year. And I know you might be wondering, but Couz, why would they do that? Why would they risk that extra loss every year? Well, here's why. Because Greg Sankey is trying to push for strength of schedule to hold more weight as a metric to the College Football Playoff Committee when they're meeting to decide who gets in the CFP. As a matter of fact, they're meeting this week to talk about it. They're hearing presentations about it from the College Football Playoff Committee themselves about this possible change. Greg Sankey talked about it at the SEC spring meetings, how they pushed around propaganda to talk about how great the SEC is. We all know that the media is in love with the SEC. You saw the ESPN preseason FPI. It was loaded with SEC teams in the top 10 and even the top 25. And that's actually one of the data points the SEC even put in those pamphlets or stacks of information that they were giving out to the media at the SEC spring meetings. They were using that FPI. The problem is, if they do that, if they make strength of schedule a heavier priority, they are basically handing the SEC, they're basically handing the SEC 7 or 8 spots a year, potentially in the playoff. At least 6. Because you're going to automatically look at preseason polls, which are always going to be loaded with SEC teams, whether they deserve it or not. And yes, most years, the SEC is the best team top to bottom. But it doesn't mean a 6th-place SEC team should get in the playoff over a 2nd or 3rd-place Big 12 team, or ACC team for that matter. But that's what's going to happen because they always get the benefit of the doubt when it comes to strength of schedule. And Sankey's trying to double down on that and put it even more in their favor and make that a heavier weighted metric. Big Ten doesn't think it's a good idea. They think adding one more data point is just going to make matters worse for everybody else except who? Except the SEC. And when it comes to West Virginia, in my opinion, having that extra non-con game against a Power 4 opponent and winning it is a way to earn yourself some respect and keep and if that strength of schedule metric is going to matter more, having the respect of the media, having the respect of the people on the college football playoff committee for playing that tougher schedule, that tougher non-conference opponent. Heck, I remember many a time having conversations in the preseason with people who I've had on my show, or I went on somebody else's show and we had a conversation about, hey man, West Virginia's willing to step up and play 11 Power 4 teams, two Power 4 teams in the non-conference, and people respected them for that. So they do respect them for playing that extra game. They're going to lose that now because they're doing what everybody else is going to do and play basically 10 P4s, an FCS, and a G6. Heck, the SEC is even playing more G6s than most people are. And they're playing one less conference game than the Big 12 and the Big 10. But they're still going to push this strength of schedule metric down everybody's throat. That's automatically going to give them the benefit of the doubt, even in years in the future when they may not be the best conference. The perception has already been laid that they're the best conference. And in some ways, they've earned that. But the problem is, you by being in the hands of a subjective committee, that perception that the SEC is better is always going to be there. And now all of a sudden, not only are they better, they're now playing. Now we're going to have to weigh strength of schedule more. That means SEC is always going to get the benefit of the doubt in almost every conversation. If you're looking at a 9-3 SEC team and a 10-2 ACC or Big 12 team, that 9-3 SEC team is going to get the benefit of the doubt probably 9 out of 10 times if they do this move and strengthen and make strength of schedule matter more. And again, for West Virginia, the only way you're going to be able to earn an at-large spot, in my opinion, is to play that extra Power 4 opponent that nobody else is doing. Be the team that goes out and plays a tougher schedule than everybody else in your conference. That way, if you win that game and you do drop a game in the Big 12, it doesn't knock you out of the playoffs. And heck, even if you lose it, it doesn't hurt you as bad. That's why I think this scheduling idea of only playing one Power 4 opponent in the non-conference, yes, I see the advantages of it. Hopefully an extra win. Hopefully you guys get less beat up and you get that extra home game. But at the end of the day, when it comes to college football playoff, it's going to hurt your strength of schedule, which is the one metric that you could have as an advantage over everybody else. You just gave it away. You just gave it away. But I want to hear what you think in the comment section. Do you still think West Virginia moving away from the two Power 4s in non-conference was the right move? Or do you agree with me and think that, hey, maybe it wasn't the right move? Maybe they need to be playing two Power 4s in the non-conference. Let me know in the comment section. Also, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you like this video. I want to give a quick shout out to the VIP members, the random VIP members of this episode: Tanner Trax Premier, Shannon Miller, CEO of The Sofa, and Bourbon Crazy. Thank you all for being paid VIP members. Also, shout out to Appalachia Digital. Thanks to them for designing my brand new website over at wvsportschat.com. They did a great job over there. If you need a brand new website or you need your site to get found easier on Google, they're the folks you need to get a hold of. Go to AppalachiaDigital.com/Couz. Let them know I sent you, and they will hook you up just like they did me over at WVSportsChat.com. Another quick shout out to Katz, Cantor, Stone Street, and Buckner attorneys at law. Thank them for helping keep the lights on. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Please be sure to turn on your notifications. Thanks for tuning into the show. Hope the rest of your day is top shelf and Q Country Roads.